This is a quick review of a new tent I've got, which is called a Vango Flux 500 Airbeam. It's the second time I've used it. I've used it once in Wales, and now I'm in the Lake District. And it's got some particular features which make it a very interesting and superb tent, I think. Flux 500 Airbeam, it's got a hydrostatic head of 4,000, which is pretty good. You can get a bit higher than that, but 4,000 is good. You know, you don't need to worry about waterproof strength. TBS, as they call it, tension band system. I'll show you that in a moment. It's basically some sort of internal straps which tension the tent and make it more stable, which is another nice feature of this tent. So here it is, and the first thing you do is peg out the four corners, and they're easily found because they're bright orange, and this is quite strong, robust, sort of elasticated hook things. So that's the first thing to do, peg out those four corners. So there's the four corners pegged out, and you can see the footprint of this tent, which is pretty big. I mean, it's luxurious for 1, 2, and it's pretty good for 3. But it's not massive like, you know, some of these massive tents you can buy, which take an enormously long time to put up and take down again. And that's one of the advantages of this tent, which I'll explain a bit in a moment. Now, it's called an air beam because it's sort of built around 2 air beams, would you believe it? So you get your pump and find these little inlet pipes, and then shove the hold on, I've got to do this with 2 hands, if you give me a second. There you go. It's not fiddly, but I just had to do a bit of screwing, and then attach your pump and do a bit of this. You can see immediately the air beam starting to fill. I'm jerking the camera around, but you can see the beam is starting to fill up like so. So there's the first one. That took about 30 seconds. It's quite easy. They recommend a maximum of 7 psi, pounds per square inch, which is not very high pressured. But the air beams are actually quite sort of strong and taut, so you know it's very well designed. Doesn't need much effort to get the air into it. And here's the other one. It's got a little sort of pocket flap, which you find there are 2 of them for the 2 air beams, and then now I can't actually do this one-handed. It's not difficult, but I do need 2 hands. So there's the first one, and here's the second one, and you can see it flopping around. So the next stage is to peg out all the guy lines, but this is the main sort of structure for it, these 2 air beams, and very efficient it is too. I quite like these very long guy lines. I suppose the longer they are, the more stability they give, which is one point, but also on a slightly petty but you know important point, if you're on a crowded campsite, you don't want people coming up right close to you, especially if they're bloody idiots with you know, who want to party with alcohol and loud noise and music. So that's the rear of it. I've just put the first two guy lines up at the rear. So that's the rear sort of constructed. Then you go to the further details of pegging out at this point the floor space basically. So I'll show you what I'm talking about, a bigger view in a second. I'm just illustrating the ease of the thing with this peg. And there it is. So I've just pulled out the floor space, and now I do the same on the other side. And here it is. That was a little awkward for me because I was stopping to make video clips and provide some commentary, and 2 or 3 times I needed 2 hands rather than 1, so I couldn't continue, you know, making my video clips. But you could put this up in about 5 minutes. It's very easy, it's very stress-free. You're not struggling with threading poles through hoops, or just sit on my little chair, or lifting a very heavy weight of fabric and nylon, which you have to do with some of these sort of larger tents, because the air beams just lift it all up. So it's very easy, which is the first thing to say about this tent. The second thing, second and third and whatever, as I give you some commentary, will be okay. So here I am inside. I mean, I can lie out, I could lie crosswise or lengthwise, diagonally, of course, you know, pretty much in any direction, and there's just lots and lots of room. It's luxurious for one. It's luxurious for 2 as well, I would say. For 3 it would be good. For 4 it would be okay. So, you know, that's the sort of standard of comfort and luxury which you've got. Now, given that it only takes 5 minutes to put up, that's the sort of combination of benefits which this particular tent gives you, and why I like it so much, because it's not singular to have this sort of degree of space and comfort, but it is singular to have this degree of space and comfort and ease of assembly and disassembly. 5 minutes to put up, possibly about the same to take down, but then you have to sort of tuck in straps and guy lines and, you know, that kind of stuff, so it's maybe a little bit more complicated to put away. Then you have to roll the thing up. I mean, it's a fair size. It weighs about 12.5 kilos, I think, which is okay to carry for one person. I wouldn't want to carry more than about 12.5, maybe 15, but this is kind of, you know, it's heavy, but it's perfectly doable, and I'm not some sort of weightlifter type person, you know, I can do it quite easily. Now, the benefits then is you're moving, I would say, into the sort of comfort zone of having a camper van. It's not a camper van, it's a tent. But because there's so much space here, you can cook inside it very easily without worrying about you know, the discomfort of steam and condensation and setting anything alight. You can even use your gas burner to warm it up slightly. I've done that once before. I did that in Wales about 2 months ago. This is the second time I've used this. The first time I used it, it was a bit chilly in the evening. You can have a tent inside. Not a tent inside, you can have a chair inside this tent because it's so big. I'll show you what I mean. There, in fact, is my little seat outside. It's through a plastic panel, which is nice. But you could have that here if you want, or in the interior section here if you want. I've done this already. You know, absolutely no shortage of room. The tension bands which Vango refer to are these things. So they just aid the, you know, rigidity of the tent. I think I read a review about this tent, saying that it's been tested in 50 or 60 mile-an-hour winds, and I have yet to experience that. And I suspect, yes, I can believe it, because it's very robust and secure. You can see that when you put it up. These air beams are a brilliant system. I mean, you've got the usual features. I don't think there's any great need for me to show you all that stuff, other than very quickly. You know, you've got an interior fly sheet, which I much prefer to attach to the outer and put the whole thing up at once. You've got mesh panels for ventilation. This is the interior door. You've got a bug net mesh panel here, which I've now rolled up, and that's the outer door rolled up as well. I don't think I need to show you all the, all those details, because they're common to all tents. So what I'm showing you is what's distinctive and singular and superb about this tent, I think. The Vango Airbeam Flux 500. You can get a bigger Flux Airbeam tent, and I think there's a smaller one as well. But yeah, it's a superb tent. There's nothing negative to say about it. There's nothing bad to say about it. It's expensive. I mean, that's the only disadvantage to it. But if you want to enjoy valley camping rather than just feel sort of huddled, in a tiny little nylon space, then this is a really good tent to do that, to enjoy your valley camping.